Here's what's cooking on an all-new Sports Show football show. We've got picks for NFL Week 2. We've got some college football matchups to discuss, plus power rankings. Where do we rank the NFL team as the first season? That's what's cooking on today's Sports Show. Welcome into an all-new edition of the Sports Stove Football Show, otherwise known as the Packer pregame. Just kidding. We're not going to do too much Packer talk tonight, but we've got plenty of things to discuss. We will give you our NFL pick sixes, plus advice for your survivor pool. We've got some news to discuss. College football's got some big games we're going to talk about as well. We'll give our general thoughts on the current top 25 in college football as well. I'm Vince Stover, joined as I am every week by my dad, Dale Stover. Dad, how you doing?
Good, doing good. Like I said, football is rolling now, so it'd be good and a big game course tonight. So,
yeah, last week was a ton of fun. College football, professional football, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, Monday. College football, especially on Saturday. This week, we've got 2 Monday Night Football games. We've got plenty of things going on in the NFL. And, of course, in just a little bit, the Packers and the Commanders will kick off. And so we start another football weekend in just a little bit. But no better way to get it started than spending some time with the Sports Stove Football Show presented by Righteous Felon Jerky. Join the flavor revolution at righteousfelon.com. Use the promo code STOVE15. You're going to get 15% off your purchase. All right, let's start with real quick thoughts from last week, Dad. I don't want to spend too much time on week 1. We started it off on a Thursday night game, Eagles, Cowboys. Eagles were able to squeak it out. Chargers, Chiefs in Sao Paulo on Friday night. The Chargers getting the win there. We had a great Packer game Sunday against the Lions. The Packers were in control. Bengals, Browns. I'm interested to know what the talk was this week in the Cincinnati area. Bengals win by 1, but T. Higgins does nothing. Joe Burrow does nothing. And the Browns almost pull off the big win in Cincinnati. How was the vibe in the Cincinnati area this week?
Well, I talked to several fans here, and whenever I mentioned the game, the reaction with everybody was just shaking their head. So said It's going to have to get better than that. So that's right. I think that's the general thought.
Steelers, Jets, probably second best game of the weekend. Rodgers ends up getting the win, plays really well, 4 touchdown passes. The Jets kind of gave it away, but played really good football as well. Any thoughts on Rodgers' debut with Pittsburgh and what the Jets look like here, scoring 32 in week 1?
Yeah, it was a good game, and the Jets did look very good. Like you said, Rodgers, was able to control the game and get the win there. And, we'll see how that goes. I'm still not sold on the Pittsburgh thing altogether, but I do think the Jets are going to be a much improved team. But, week 1, you want to get a win and move on from there. So, and the Steelers were able to do that. That was a very good football game, though.
Bills Ravens, I think, was the best game. I know it was ended after your bedtime, Dad. But I was sitting there watching the Bills and Ravens and thinking, hey, I think I'm going to go to bed. Then Derrick Henry fumbled it, and I said, never mind, I'll stay up. Watch the rest of the game. Bills come back and win it in a thriller. We'll talk more about these two teams later on, but Dad, to me, those look like 2 of the best teams in the NFL, even though the defense wasn't great. Just watching those guys, Derrick Henry had a crazy game. Lamar Jackson was good. Josh Allen looked MVP-like in that game as well. Any thoughts on Bills Ravens?
No, again, I did. Unfortunately, I was not able to stay up and watch it, but I did watch a little bit at the start, but, kept up on all the reporting afterward. 2 very good teams. Again, a good football game, 2 good quarterbacks. And, it'd be interesting. It looks like in the AFC, those are going to be teams to deal with.
Yeah. 2 teams I don't think too many people will have to deal with is Minnesota and Chicago. I watched this game on Monday night, and I had a lot of thoughts going through my mind, quite honestly. Until the fourth quarter, the Vikings, it looked horrendous. Then they put it together in the fourth quarter to get the win. The Bears side of things, I'm sitting there looking at the offense going, man, the offense is doing nothing, absolutely nothing as far as scoring, especially. And then the fourth quarter, the defense just decided to take the whole quarter off and give the game over to the Vikings there as well. So I looked at this game, Dad. Some people, Vikings fans, think this is the greatest thing in the world. I'm sitting there going, did you watch the game? Because 1-3, they were really bad. I don't think Vikings fans want to admit how bad the Bears were in the fourth quarter. I don't leave this game thinking very positively about either of these teams. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on Vikings Bears?
Yeah, there wasn't anything shocking. Again, of course, I'm very prejudiced. We are being in the division there, but neither team showed anything to me that like, oh, wow, they're really going to be a contender this year. So, they may get better. Minnesota quarterback may get better. I heard people say this week that the Bears looked like they were improved for 3 quarters, and then they were the Bears. So, Caleb Williams, I don't know that he convinced anybody. I'm sure people in Chicago are still very positive, but we'll see.
I don't think so. No, I would not put positive as a word going on in Chicago right now. I don't think they looked improved, and I was one that pumped them up. I thought they would be better. And one of the things I put out on Twitter this week was we're really going to find out how good of a coach Ben Johnson is here in the next week or two, because if Caleb Williams does not improve drastically in these next 2 weeks, number one, Caleb Williams can't be the quarterback. Number two, Ben Johnson has to decide what's the best thing for his job this year. Is it to play somebody else? Is it to stick with Caleb Williams for the whole season? There is enough tape for Caleb Williams to be coached up this week to say, this was wrong, this was wrong, this was wrong. Why did you do this? What were you seeing when you did that? And if they can't correct those things, and I'm not saying it'll be perfect in week 2, but if we don't see improvement, and I think drastic improvement from week 1 to week 2 in Caleb Williams, I still think Ben Johnson's a good coach overall, but I would be ready to punt on Caleb Williams finally. And not to say I loved Caleb Williams before, but I would be done with Caleb Williams very quickly this season if he continues to play the way that he played on Monday night. The overthrows, the underthrows, the not seeing things down the field that were open, all these things that are going to add up, and you're going to play better teams as the season goes on. You just can't have it. And so Caleb Williams, I think, is on a very he's going to have to be on a very fast trajectory in order to be the quarterback of the future in Chicago. And I'm not sure how they'll handle that if he's not. It could be ugly. Who had the worst week, Dad? I asked it the other way when I was talking to the guys on the fantasy football show. But who had the worst week? Dan Campbell, coach of the Detroit Lions, his former offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, who's now in Chicago, and his former defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn, who lost it with some silly mistakes from his team there at the end of the game as well. Who do you think had the worst week out of those 3 guys?
I think it would be Johnson
in Chicago.
Out of there, from there. So
I would tend to agree with you based off of the fact the Lions were playing a better team than the Bears were playing. The Jets looked good overall. So I would agree with you. I think, again, things for the Lions are going to have to look better pretty fast too. But I do think Green Bay is really good. And I know that always sounds biased coming from us, but I don't see how you can't look and go, yeah, this team's really good. They've got their flaws, but overall, really good. All right, let's head into week 2, Dad, and look at the games for this week. We're picking 6 games every week. We always do the primetime games, and then we'll throw a couple other games in there as well. So let's start off with the Thursday night game. We posted these on social media at Sports Stove. The graphic has just been posted right before we went live. Washington travels to Green Bay. Green Bay coming off a dominant win over Detroit. Washington had a win and convincing win, but there were some things about that game that didn't look great for Washington. Maybe a slower start than they were hoping for. Still looked really good. There's a lot of positives to like in Washington, too. Dad, Jaden Daniels in Lambeau Field. Who are you taking tonight, Washington or Green Bay?
Well, I'm going to pick Green Bay. I'm not as confident as I was in the game last week, in some ways. But the whole question for me is the Packer defense really that good? And we will find out. They've got the talent now. Hafley seems to be able to get the schemes. Daniels is a good quarterback, no doubt about it. They've got some weapons over there. The offense, I think, for Packers will continue to get better. Question tonight about the offensive line. We'll see, who plays and who doesn't. If the regular starters play, they didn't give up a sack last week against Detroit. That was impressive. So, and even the guys that are filling in, I feel fairly confident with. But, you don't know. LaFleur gave a lot of credit to the running backs with picking up blitzes and that type of thing. So I think the Packers can win. It scares me a little bit, but I think we may have the real deal here. So.
Yeah, it's a home game, so I'm going to go with the Packers as well. Starting the week, the Packers were 1.5-point favorites. Right here before game time, they're 3.5-point favorites. So there's been a little bit of a move there. If this was a road game, I might lean towards Washington. Packers have struggled. Doesn't matter who the coordinator is. Doesn't matter who the players are. The Packers have struggled against mobile quarterbacks. And so last week, they dialed in on the run game. They said, we're not going to let Jahmyr Gibbs beat us. And they absolutely crushed it. So who are they going to focus on this week? Because the run game, it's not the same thing that you faced against Detroit. And are you going to try to take away Deebo Samuels and Terry McLaurin? Are you going to try to take away Jaden Daniels and just focus everything on let's hit them as much as possible, which I think should be the game plan? I'm interested to see where they go with that, the scheme-wise, but I'm taking Green Bay as well this week against Washington because they're at Lambeau Field. All right, second game we're picking is Atlanta at Minnesota. The Vikings won last week, and they are favorited to win Sunday night as well. And then Atlanta lost a really close one. They were right there with it and just missed going to overtime. So, Dad, Atlanta at Minnesota, who are you going with in this game?
I'm going to go with Atlanta because I think they'll rebound. Again, Minnesota was not totally impressive. They are at home, but Atlanta has got some weapons. They played well in some ways against Tampa. So I've got a feeling they'll rebound here, and so I'm going to go with Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm going to Atlanta too. I just think Atlanta looked better for 4 quarters. They weren't great. They have their issues. They need to give Bijan Robinson the ball more. I can tell you that right now. Splitting their carries 50-50 in Atlanta is ridiculous. So Algiers is good, but not as good as Bijan Robinson. That number should change. Minnesota looked great in the 4th quarter, but horrible the rest of the game. I just trust the consistency of Michael Penix with Drake London. Even Kyle Pitts had a good game. Bijan Robinson. I like Atlanta's defense. You had to watch to see some of the really good stuff going on that was not as visible on the screen. And so I love it. I think Atlanta gets the win against Minnesota. That's the Sunday night game. Opened up as 4.5, I believe, and closing. Well, right now it's at 3.5. Minnesota, the favorite in that game. All right, let's go to Houston, Tampa Bay at Houston. This is the first of the 2 Monday night games. Baker Mayfield and the boys travel down to CJ Stroud, who, boy, he did not look good in the first game of the season. Dad, you going with Tampa on the road or Houston with a slight favorite at home?
Yeah, I like personally, I like Houston better, but I've got good feelings about Tampa Bay at this point. They seem solid with the weapons that they have. And so I'm going to go with Tampa Bay. I don't know that the Houston's got it all together yet. And, again, Mayfield, you got a veteran quarterback. And, the coach has done well. I guess this is his second year there. So I've just looking at everything, I think it's a safe bet to try to go with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I'll go opposite on you on this one. I'll go Houston at home. It was a rough week one. I think they bounce back. I think they have the right coaches in place. They'll get some things figured out this week. I do want to take a victory lap on Emeka Egbuka. I tried to tell people since before the draft that this kid was going to come into the NFL and be him from day number one, and looked great in week one, couple touchdowns. I think that connection with Baker Mayfield will continue, and he'll continue to look good. I just think on the road in this game, I just like Houston a little bit more. They are opened up at 1.5. They are now 2.5-point favorites there. All right, Dad, Chargers at Raiders. The Raiders. Chargers, you've been hating on them for a couple years now, but last week you picked them, I believe, or I don't remember now. Anyway, they won. They're going up against the Raiders, the new-look Raiders, in Vegas. You going Chargers or Raiders?
Well, I'm going to go with the Chargers. Again, I like, the Raiders being better, but you've kind of convinced me with the Chargers to just forget who the coach is and look at the team, and I've tried to do that. They've got talent. They've played well, and again, it's a division game, so we'll see. But again, the Chargers, to me, are kind of like the Bucks. They look good to start out with. They seem solid. So, some of the young Raider players, I'd like to see them do well. Again, I have to forget that Pete Carroll is the coach there. But, I'm all for teams that have been bad, getting back to be relevant. So we'll see how the Raiders do. But I think the Chargers should win this one.
Yeah, I'll go with you with the Chargers on this one. I'm not a Geno Smith guy. Bowers is banged up for Vegas also. I think the Chargers good against the run, so Genty could be limited. I think he'll still get his, but he'll be a little limited. Chargers, Justin Herbert I really enjoyed watching him last week, especially when he uses his legs. It adds so much to the team. Quentin Johnston, great game in week one. Keenan Allen looked awesome in his return to the Chargers as well. Ladd McConkey, of course, is there too. So I'm going Chargers. I just trust them a whole lot more than Vegas. They are 3.5 point favorites on the road this week. All right, Dad, then we're going to go New England at Miami. Two teams that did not look good in week number one. Miami is the favorite in this game. They opened up at 2.5 points, and they are currently at 1.5 points. So a little bit of movement towards New England in this one. You going Miami or New England?
I'm going to go New England. Miami, again, we knew they had problems coming in. It sure looked like that last week. The Patriots did not look good, last week, but I think there's more positive vibes with the Patriots than the Dolphins, even though they're at home.
Yeah, there's definitely more positive vibes, but I'm going to go Miami at home. Again, I look at it as kind of the last chance for them. They got to turn it around fast, and the Patriots just didn't look good. They need to change some things up. If they decide to kind of go away from Ramondre Stevenson, I like New England better. I like Drake May better than Tua, but at the end of the day, Dad, at home, I think Devon Achane has a much better game. I just have a hard time picking against home teams in these division games. So I'm going to go Miami, but I think quite honestly, I think it's a must win for Miami this week. I think the hot seat gets only hotter if they lose this game. Philadelphia travels to Kansas City. We had the opening game and the Sao Paulo game with these two teams back-to-back this week. Again, at Kansas City, but Philadelphia is the favorite in this game as well. Probably game of the week, more than likely. Who do you like in this one, Philadelphia or the home team, Kansas City?
Well, you look at these two, and this is kind of a really tough one to pick. I've heard a lot of negative on the radio about Kansas City this week, but I don't think they're going to go away and hide. On the other hand, I think Philadelphia is a very good team. They didn't, to me, beat Dallas the way they should have there. But I'm going to go with the Eagles. I think if they're going to establish themselves here at the start of the season as a team in the NFC, then this is a big game for them to win. But again, Kansas City's at home. I surely won't be shocked if Kansas City rebounds here.
Yeah, I don't know how often Kansas City has been home underdogs, and they are only by 1.5 points, but still a little surprised by that, honestly. I don't think Philadelphia played that great. Neither did Kansas City, of course, as well. But what we did see out of Kansas City, I thought, and I have not been the pro Patrick Mahomes guy, but I thought we saw him look like he did a couple years ago, like elite, top-tier quarterback. He decided and realized, I got to put the team on my back, even though it's week 1. He wasn't able to come out with the win, but he still played his heart out. I still don't like that he flops. I don't like some of that kind of stuff, but I'm going Kansas City at home in this one. I'll take the underdogs in this one and go Kansas City at home. So me and Dad agree. Green Bay beats Washington. Atlanta beats Minnesota, and the Chargers beat Vegas. We are split. I go Houston. Dad goes Tampa. I go Miami. Dad goes New England. And I go KC. Dad goes Philadelphia for this week. So we are currently 3-3 from week 1. We both got 3 correct in week number 1. We'll see how we do in week number 2. All right, up next is our Righteous Felon Soul Survivor pick, presented by Righteous Felon Jerky. Join the flavor revolution at righteousfelon.com. Promo code STOVE15 to get 15% off your purchase. And one of the flavors they have, it's called the Soul Survivor. It's a Korean barbecue. It's phenomenal. And so that's our sponsor this year for our Survivor pick. This is just to give advice to you on who to pick this week in your Survivor pool. Last week, I gave you Arizona. They still survive. Dad gives you Tampa, and they made it through, barely made it through. So two winning picks last week. All right, Dad, who is your Survivor pick this week?
I led people the right way last week. So This week we will, to find my Soul Survivor, I had to go back to our old stomping grounds in Middle Tennessee, and I'm going to pick the Rams over the Titans. I know I'm a lot bigger on the Rams than you are, but I do think, as I looked at the games, I think this is a pretty safe Survivor pick.
Okay. Yeah, this was a hard week, I thought, for Survivor picks. There's a lot of just weird matchups this week overall. I'm going Cincinnati. They're at home against Jacksonville. They had a horrendous offensive outing in week number 1. I just have to believe they're going to come out firing on all cylinders, and I anticipate that they do. So I'm going to go Bengals. They got the Jaguars coming to town this week, but that's my Righteous Felon Soul Survivor pick this week. Dad, do we agree that Mike McDaniels down there in Miami will be the first coach fired this season?
Yes. I don't think any doubt about that. I heard you guys talking about that on your show Tuesday, and I already had him written down here. So I think that will be the case. I would think real estate agents are mailing out flyers across the NFL at this point.
Yeah, I Brian Daboll is the other candidate, but I think he'll survive. At least until Jackson Dart gets in there. So I think he's a candidate for sure. I think Carolina is an interesting candidate to get fired too. I don't know that they will fire him or let him finish out the season, but I think that's one to watch as well. But I think Miami's the hottest seat out there right now. Dad, let's go to power rankings. Top 5 teams after week 1. We got to watch these games and see where they are. How do you feel about power rankings? I posted mine on social media this week, got some feedback of disagreement. But how do you feel about top 5 teams in the NFL right now?
Okay, you said you want the top 5?
Yeah.
I've got Philadelphia first at this point. Buffalo second, Green Bay third, Baltimore fourth, and Tampa Bay number 5.
Okay, so I we just talked about the Eagles not beating Dallas the way we thought they should, and they're still number one. That surprises me. I'm going Buffalo 1, Baltimore 2. Even though Baltimore lost this week, I watched that game. What they did offensively was incredible, and they'll get better defensively, and they won't have to play Josh Allen every week as well. So I got Buffalo 1, Baltimore 2, Green Bay 3, Philadelphia 4, and I got the Chargers at 5. I got the Bucks down at 7, actually, Dad. But I was trying to decide between Los Angeles and Washington for my 5th spot. I felt like the Commanders could be there as well. But I ended up going with the Chargers at 5, Commanders 6, Bucks 7 is the way that I brought it down. I got some flack for Baltimore too, but again, I watched the game. I saw it with my own eyes. I'd put Baltimore against anybody below them right now and expect them to win a football game. So that's why I've got them at 2 as well. I like your confidence in Tampa nonetheless, and they're a good team. I don't mind your picks. It's just mine are right. So anyways, several injury issues in week 1. The biggest was George Kittle. He's out 3 to 5 weeks. And we're going to see how teams begin to adjust immediately to how things are going to go for them this week in week number 2 as well. All right, Dad, anything else on the NFL that you want to discuss?
Nope, I think that will do it. Again, it's going to be a good week again this week. And, it takes, I know in fantasy, to me, it takes about 3 weeks for things to shake out and you see where they're at. And that'll probably be true with the teams here also. But it'll be a lot of good stuff to talk about next week.
For sure. All right, let's go to college football then. And we'll go right into our picks here to start things off. We picked 5 games in college football. And, of course, we have to pick Georgia at Tennessee. Georgia, number 6, Tennessee, number 15. This spread started at 7 for Georgia, now down to 4.5 for Georgia. So take it or leave it, I suppose, from there. Tennessee hasn't beat Georgia in a long time, Dad. And Georgia, obviously, higher ranked top 6 team. So how do you feel about Georgia, Tennessee this week? Who you picking?
Well, being I'm a Tennessee fan, one thing is, Tennessee, I think, does have some injuries from what I understand in the defensive secondary, which that's not a good thing there. But it's at Tennessee. Tennessee does have a strong team. So I'm going to pick Tennessee probably because I would like to see them win. I don't think Georgia is, the team they've been in the last 2 or 3 years where, they were the number 1 team and really you weren't ever going to beat them. So we will see. Georgia will really, if they go into Knoxville and really dominate, then they'll really set themselves apart. But Tennessee, the quarterbacks look good so far. Both really good coaches. Heupel is really good. And, of course, Kirby Smart, you can't argue with him. So this should be a great football game to watch, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I'll go with you on this one too. Tennessee at home. I like the underdog. If I wasn't a Tennessee fan, I don't know that I would pick Tennessee, but I'm going to let that influence me today. I'll go Tennessee also. All right, let's go to another game, Texas A&M. 2-0, Texas A&M at Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a 6.5-point favorite in this game, has been all week. But they're 0-1. And I don't know that they can go 0-2, Dad. I don't know that they will. Who are you picking, Texas A&M at Notre Dame?
Well, I'm going to go with the home team on this one with Notre Dame. I know they lost their first game, but again, I think they're a very solid team, and Texas A&M is also. But going into South Bend is always tough, and I would go with the way it's being favored with Notre Dame.
Yeah, I when we did our college previews, I was pretty high on Texas A&M. Saw them as a sneaky playoff team because we've doubted them now for so long. I'm going to pick A&M in this game, Dad. I'm going to go with them. Marcel Reed, I really think is very good, and I think there is potential here for things to get ugly in South Bend with a loss this week, especially almost a touchdown favorite. But I'm going to go A&M. in this game against Notre Dame. How about the biggest story of the week? USF beats Florida, and now they travel to Miami. Actually, they're playing. And so USF now ranked. USF, they are at, I believe it is 17.5-point underdogs to Miami in this game. Both teams undefeated, and Miami's looked pretty good. They're number 5 in the nation. You going with the big underdogs, or are you going with Miami?
Well, South Florida has looked good. I knew that was yet last week we didn't get a lot of time to talk about college. That's one I would have said, hey, I'm interested in watching. It was kind of curious there, but if Miami's going to be who they're going to be, then at home they need to win this. South Florida should not sneak up on them at home. If they do, either South Florida is a lot better than we thought they were, or Miami is not prepared like they should be. I'll go with Miami.
Okay. I'm going to go Miami also. If I was a gambling man, I would go with USF to cover at 17.5, but I would still pick Miami to win this game. So I'm with you on that one. All right, let's go a little further west then. Colorado at Houston. It looks like Colorado is going to start their third-string quarterback, Ryan Staub, who looked really good last week. Houston, 4.5-point favorites, at least the last time that I checked. And who are you taking in this game, Colorado at Houston?
Well, I'm going to go with Houston. One, I'm interested in watching it to see our friend who was on the podcast on there and see how he's doing. I haven't checked with how his year started out, but is he still the starting running back?
He had an injury done for the year, so he will not play at all this season.
Okay, well, I didn't keep up on. I'm sorry about that, but Houston's a team that, again, if they're favored and at home, I will go. I'll go with Houston. Colorado's a little banged up, so we'll see.
Yeah, they're banged up and they're a circus. I go Houston also. Really good football team this year. And so I like Houston in this game too. All right, Dad, a really big game that I'm not sure. I mean, football fans, I think, know it, but the casuals will not. And Duke, at Tulane. So Tulane gets this one at home. Tulane is the 1.5-point favorite in this one. Duke had a lot of high expectations coming into the year. Mensah, their quarterback, 5 touchdowns and 1 pick so far this season, has looked really good. Tulane, they were my playoff pick coming out of the what do you call them, the Big Five or the Group of Five. And so I'm going Tulane in this game. They are at home, and I just think they're a really good team. Thought they were coming into the season too. So are you going to go Tulane also, or are you going to go with the road slight underdogs in Duke?
Yeah, I'll go with Tulane also, just looking at how they've played so far this year. I saw Duke play, one game so far, I guess, against Illinois. And, at first I thought, well, Duke probably would be the team. But as I looked the way Tulane has done, and being at home, then, I'll go with Tulane.
Okay. Very good. There you go. There's our 5 picks for college football this week. Me and Dad both go Tennessee over Georgia. We are split. I go A&M on the road. Dad takes the home Notre Dame Fighting Irish. We agree on Miami at home against USF. We agree on Houston at home against Colorado. And we agree on Tulane at home against Duke as well. Dad, in the top 25, there has been enough debate. There have been enough people that disagree with it. Count me in in that group as well. But Dad, in the top 25, Ohio State 1, Penn State 2, LSU, Oregon, Miami round out the top 5. Georgia, Texas, Notre Dame, Illinois, and Florida State round out the top 10. I don't think Notre Dame should be in the top 10. I don't think Texas should be in the top 10. I think South Carolina, Oklahoma, and possibly even Tennessee should be in those spots. Personally, what are your thoughts? Anything stand out to you in the top 25?
Yeah, again, it's a little early for the top 25. As I looked at it, I didn't disagree a whole lot. I felt like Clemson was a little high,
Yep.
that they could be down a couple more spots there. I think Oklahoma, with their win, could have been up a spot or two from there. And I think Utah could be up a little bit. Also, we've talked about
Yeah.
them being a good team. So
Yeah.
again, exactly what spots, I didn't break everything down from there, but I felt like Clemson was a little high, and I think OU and Utah could have been bumped up a couple spots.
That Oklahoma-Michigan game was fun, I thought, as well. I've been down on Oklahoma because of their schedule. Everyone said, oh, they're really good. I said, yeah, but the schedule. And they still haven't got into the heart of that schedule just yet. It's coming very, very soon. But they still got a great win. It was at home. It was against a true freshman quarterback, but they played well. They held their own. They got the win. They've got Temple this week. Then they get into Auburn, Kent State, and then it just comes at them. Texas, South Carolina, both of those on the road. Then Ole Miss at home. Then Tennessee on the road. Then Alabama on the road. Then Missouri at home. Then LSU at home. The schedule is brutal to Oklahoma, but really impressed with what they did this week against Michigan. And I think they can get even through Auburn. I think really until they get to the Texas game, they should win the next 3 games. So shout out to them, Boomer Sooner. We got some Sooner fans that listen in faithfully to the show. And impressive win, an impressive night for Oklahoma. Dad, I watched that game, and every game you see a splattering of colors, right? You see the home team, you see the section for the road team, and then a splattering. At Oklahoma, all I saw was red. And that's how it's supposed to be. And I just thought the environment was really cool in Norman this past weekend against Michigan. So any games last week that stood out to you or teams you want to discuss quickly before we wrap up?
No, I don't think so. As I was looking at the top 25 here in the AP, then I looked down at the other teams getting votes. And the last one I saw was Vanderbilt. I thought, well, let me look at this a little bit. And Vanderbilt, has a chance to win a couple more non-conference games, but their conference schedule is really loaded. So I don't know that they're going to be able to get to be a bowl team this year. But I was real intrigued to see the Vanderbilt name there. So I looked at that just a little bit.
Dad, Vanderbilt's only a 3.5-point underdog on the road at South Carolina this week. Like, there is some respect on Vanderbilt's name right now. And if they could pull the upset in South Carolina, that'd be crazy because you said it. Georgia State at home. Utah State at home. Then they travel to Alabama, who they beat last year. Then you've got the LSU, Missouri, Texas, Auburn, before a home game against Kentucky, and then a road Tennessee to follow it up. So, a win this week would be massive for the program, but even those moral victories, you get a close one, you get a field goal game against South Carolina, there's going to be a lot of respect on Vanderbilt's name moving forward for sure. All right, Dad, anything else you want to discuss before we call it a day?
No, it's going to be a good week in college football, and of course, it's always a good week in the NFL. So I think we'll have a lot of interesting things next week because I'm sure there'll be some surprises. And, who knows? Maybe the Volunteers will be way up there next week. We'll see.
I agree. Well, follow us on social media at Sports Stove. That's Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you check out our sponsors, Righteous Felon Jerky. Join the flavor revolution, righteousfelon.com. The promo code is STOVE15. That's STOVE15. You're going to get 15% off your purchase each and every time. One of the things we do on this show is we just talk football, and we stay away from everything else that goes on. We try to just be a simple football show. I feel it's important, though, that we do say today, as of this recording, is September the 11th. And I think after the events of this week, it's important for us to remember what September 11th is. And many years ago, back in 2001, when we were attacked on September 11th, it really brought our country to a place that was a place that we need to return to. It was a much kinder country. It was a much nicer country. It was where people really looked at the person next to them and saw them as a neighbor versus as an enemy. Our country has gotten to the point now where it is just fighting all the time. If you don't agree with someone, it's just a fight. You can't just get along. And September 11th brought us together in a way that I wish we didn't have to experience that tragedy in order to be brought together in that way, but we did. Now we face a week of just violence in our country continuing, and I'd like to think that maybe we can take a step back and remember September 11th to the point of not only, as we should, remembering the pain and the agony, the loss that happened, remembering the families that still deal with that tragedy, remembering the heroes that stepped up and did their part on that day as well. Let's remember how we treated each other. Let's get back to that. Let's be neighbors to one another. So today, September the 11th, I simply ask you as we close to remember and return back to that kindness. Thanks for tuning into the Sports Stove Football Show. We'll be back next week with more football talk. Until then, we'll see you around the Sports Stove.